In a world of limitless opportunities and countless challenges, the choices we make manifest themselves into the very roads that guide us. And the tribulations and triumphs that shape, weather, and bind these paths together are the very essence of what makes the world such a beautifully strange place. But we walk our path with no map, in search of answers that nobody has, simply hoping that we don't get lost along the way. So maybe just sharing our story of where we come from and the things that have guided us along the way can be enough to guide those lost in their own path.
I'm Zach Bonanza, and this is the Lost Guidance Podcast. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's right, Lost Guidance Podcast, Season 2, Episode 3. And as always, I'm your host, Zach Bonanza, and as always, I'm joined in studio today by somebody who has a great story, a great path that they're on, and they're following their dreams. And today, that's Miss Hayley Mielnicki, RD, registered dietitian. Thank you for coming in.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Go ahead and bring that mic just a little bit closer, point it at you, whatever you want to do. That way people get every little bit of this story. So Hayley here has recently passed her boards. She was interning in the dietitian program at Syracuse University.
Yep.
She graduated from Johnson & Wales. Now she's working at the Oneida Herkimer Madison BOCES as a dietitian. So Hayley, what I usually like to do is kind of start off the episode, just give people a little bit of a background to like you and what led you into this field.
Yeah. So I guess I really should start way back. And I was in middle school and I started watching the Food Network after school. Rachel Ray, Bobby Flay, Giada,
the
all
greats,
of them.
the greats.
All of them. And so I said, that's what I want to do. I want to have a Food Network show. And it's going to be Hayley's Holiday Hints. That was my show. And I have an apron with it on there.
That's awesome.
It is officially mine.
Wow.
Trademarked. Just kidding. But so that's where it started. And I just kind of spiraled through that. My mom let me print out recipes and I cooked with her a lot. And it just kind of went throughout high school. And I took every cooking, nutrition, anything getting me in the kitchen.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I really thought that I wanted to own a bakery. So Johnson & Wales had a great baking and pastry program. So I applied, and before I went, I realized I don't just want to do pastry. So I switched to culinary arts and kind of fell into nutrition. And then it just kind of kept leading me towards all these different opportunities. Yeah.
That's tremendous. So was it just your love of food or just the presentation, or was it kind of just like this multi-magnitude thing that you just fell in love with?
Definitely so many different parts of it. Food, culture, we traveled a lot. I've been to a lot of different countries, and food is the one thing that everyone does every single day. Everyone eats.
Right.
And so that's something that brings people together. Families to the table, like it's a form of entertainment.
Yeah, very culturally
Yeah.
inclusive. You can go somewhere and find that middle ground.
Of course.
And it's with food. You don't have to say a word.
Everyone knows how to talk food.
Yeah,
in some way or
exactly.
form, so.
That's awesome. So going toward your path of as a registered dietitian, now some people might be confused. What's the difference between like a registered dietitian and a nutritionist?
Okay. So this is a question that a lot of people just don't understand. When I say registered dietitian, they just think it's a self-proclaimed title. So to be a registered dietitian, you have to have a 4-year bachelor's degree in nutrition or dietetics, something sciencey. And then you have to complete a dietetic internship. So that's a full application process. It probably took me a year and a half just to get ready for the internship.
Oh, wow.
And then it's a 9 to 12 month program. And then I sit down and I have to study for a couple months. And I took a boards exam, which was 125 multiple choice questions.
Wow.
So it kind of ranges. We have experience in anything from food service to long-term care, like elderly care, to clinical care in hospital. I'm trying to think what else.
So you really have to know all aspects, and that's what
Yes.
the dietitian aspect of it is. Whereas
Yeah.
a nutritionist might just point you in the way of healthier food options,
Yes.
kind of?
Yep.
Okay.
So those credentials, I guess you could still call them, are more of like you can do those things online. Someone who has like a bachelor's degree in nutrition could definitely call themselves a nutritionist. But to be a registered dietitian nutritionist, letters after your name,
Right.
you have to go a little bit more official with the process.
It's the PhD of the food world,
Yes,
basically.
yeah.
That's
Yep.
awesome. Because it kind of seems like speaking to the fact that you have this magnitude of love for all the different aspects of food, whether it's just the aesthetics of it or the actual taste and things like that. It seems like that's really a good program that suited you.
Yes.
So that's kind of interesting to see. And I see you, and we'll get to your career path now with the OHM BOCES and all that, but I see you when I first kind of took note of you doing this path as a career choice, I noticed your posting of like your charcuterie boards, and they were just so beautiful, and they look so appetizing. Just the appeal of them, Was it? Do you find that when you have a lot of feedback on that, and you make something beautiful, and you're getting people interested in that, is that like really gratifying for you?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
I think it started like I did a lot of baking in the beginning, and baked goods are only as good as they look.
Right.
So I got started with that, and then they tell you all throughout culinary school, your plate is as good as its presentation. So everything that I do, I have to make it look good. And my family will be brutally honest if it doesn't look as good as they expect.
That's good. You need critics, right?
Yeah. So then it just kind of spiraled, and now instead of baking, I've turned it into like charcuterie and other savory things as opposed to baked
That's
goods.
awesome. So how did this? So you get out of your bachelor's degree, you get your internship wrapped up, and then you get certified for the boards, and then OHM reaches out. Did you apply or?
So it was kind of funny. I was doing a little bit of freelance before the BOCES position came up. A lot of community work, food demonstrations, kind of going all over the place, and the BOCES position just popped out of nowhere, and it doesn't come up very often. They were looking for someone young and someone who really wanted to, it isn't a desk job. I'm out in the schools, I'm making recipes. It's a lot more involved than sitting behind a desk.
Right.
So I applied, and I really didn't think I was going to get it, but they seemed to really like me, and they were brutally honest that I wasn't going to be sitting at a desk, and that was like the one thing that I wanted to be out there doing
and actually having an application to it.
Yeah.
And it's got to be really just kind of warming to you when you get to go to these schools and you give a nice lunch to the students, and they're able to reciprocate that joy and like, wow, this is so much better than those frozen chicken nuggets and Dunkaroos or whatever we had back then,
Well, they still like chicken nuggets.
Right, of course, yeah, but you know what I mean.
But no, it is great. I was telling a lot of my friends how the first day of school, of course it's exciting for everyone, but going in and seeing the kindergartners, their first day going through the lunch line was so much fun. They have no idea, like they've never bought school lunch before. So they're clueless, and you're finding their numbers, and they've never like had a tray before. And it was so gratifying.
That's awesome.
And so cute.
Isn't it funny? Because, you think back and in the back of my mind, I'm like, I don't remember that being a big deal to me, but for you to witness that is a big deal. That's really cool.
It's probably not a big deal to them, but it was for me.
Right. It just pulls it all together,
Yeah.
and kind of this multi-dynamic aspect of your work, which is cool. And now, in a world where health is becoming ever more important, and I was looking up some statistics before you came, and the NHANES 2016, which is the the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey, right? They found that almost 40% of Americans are obese, and the CDC kind of verified this in 2017. 40% of Americans are obese. Is it ever more important that we start getting people on a better diet? Is it because we're eating too much processed foods? What do you think the issue is here?
I think part of the issue is the diet industry as a whole kind of selling that to be healthy is to be thin. And I'm a very firm believer in health at every size. I'm not a size 0, but maybe magazines think that is healthy, quote unquote. I think that it's meeting people where they are. If you go to McDonald's every single day, then okay, let's look at the menu and let's see what the healthier options are at McDonald's, because you're not going to change your whole lifestyle in one day, but small steps can lead you towards a healthier lifestyle. So I think it's just the misconception that health and wellness is so complicated. It doesn't have to be. You can make small differences in your everyday, and it doesn't have to be expensive either.
Right.
So.
And also you're seeing on the other end of that same token here is that people are going to extremes to try and find that quick fix. You're seeing keto, paleo, whatever, vegans, ever more than ever, and you're seeing people with suddenly like gluten intolerances and things like that, which some of these are actually real issues, certainly. But do you have any kind of perspective on like the keto paleo debate, and do you think that's a good means of doing a more healthy lifestyle?
I recently saw a quote that said to be in your health and wellness for the long run because you deserve it. And I solely believe that is what it should be. And I think a lot of the diets are more of a one and done fix. I'm going to do this for 30 days and then I'm going to go back to the regular lifestyle. So I think that not every diet is for everyone. A lot of people don't understand that the keto diet was made for kids with epilepsy and a side effect was weight loss. So
Really?
yeah. So
Can you explain that? I've never heard that.
So I guess it's just the high.
Do me a favor. Just point this at you. Yeah, you can turn that. Yeah, right at you. There
cool.
you go. There you go.
So I guess the high fat like concept of keto really helped with the symptoms of epilepsy.
Really?
And one of the side effects was weight loss. And so the diet industry, they just gobbled that up and they were like,
man.
oh, well, we're gonna sell this to everyone.
Yes.
And it's also meant to be like keto is meant for either like morbidly obese, like you need to lose weight and you need to lose it now. So let's do this for 3 weeks. It's supposed to be a 3 to 4 week thing and then it's done.
Right.
So I think it's just misinformation. And of course, the diet industry is all over social media. So there's just so much information. Who knows what really is right?
I know.
So.
Now you go to any supermarket, you got the keto bars, you got the paleo diet, you got it all force fed into your, into your face, into your surroundings. And I do agree. There are some people, and not only are they just being bombarded with this and giving misconstrued information, but you're also seeing people take it to the extreme. I work with one guy who swears by it and he's in great shape. I'll give him this. But he's like, you can literally eat bacon with every meal. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure you're going to get a heart problem if you do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's people just, they'll see one thread on BuzzFeed or something. They take it and they're like, oh, this one guy who I have no idea who the hell he is, some Tom, he says you can just eat bacon with every meal. So I've been listening to him and I've lost 10 pounds. I'm like, all right, but you're only eating bacon. You're only eating twice a day or whatever it may be. And I do agree. It's we're in a time of absolute extremes when it comes to anything. So I think people are absolutely looking for some sort of a quick fix.
Yeah.
But in your eyes, it's better to get kind of a more like a minimalized intake of the good things, right?
Yeah. So I always go back to the quote of my mom whenever I would come home and we would be sitting around the dinner table and she would ask each of my sisters and I, what did you eat today that came from the ground? And so, of course, Abby, my younger sister, said French fries because potatoes come from the ground. Whatever, she's right. But she was thinking okay, did you have carrots? Did you eat a salad? What fruits and vegetables did you eat today?
Right.
And I think it's really getting back to those basics. If you can really put a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables into your diet, then by all means, I'm one who loves ice cream. So I love my sweets, but a majority of the time I'm eating fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, lean meats, healthy fats. I love peanut butter. So just, getting that variety, but making sure you're getting whole real food.
Yeah.
So.
And I think it almost goes back to kind of this archaic or rudimentary or however you want to, this caveman primal instinct in you, where that's how we came up. We're eating the things that we pulled out of the ground and the things that we harvested ourselves. And so for somebody to think that they're going to get that same sustenance and those nutritional values out of a processed fruit smoothie or some quick microwave it in the oven or whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think that there is that disconnect where people are, again, they're being shown one thing, it's stating it might be healthy in one way, but you're not getting that same essence. You're not breaking down those natural fruit sugars or anything like that. And so I think that's something that is absolutely more important and would be more beneficial to people going forward.
100%.
So obviously getting into the dietary lifestyle, I should say, it's going to change your life, but you've got to be making an impact on those around you, right? Your friends, family. Is there maybe a story or an example you can give of how you've already been impacting those around you and maybe bettering their lives?
I can definitely say that my family, I want to say it started a while ago, but we do a community supported agriculture, a CSA, with Old Path Farm up on Grange Hill Road.
Oh, nice.
So my mom started doing that about 7 years ago. And at first it was kind of just okay, we're getting a share of vegetables every week. It's great. But I feel I really took it under my wing myself and kind of got more creative with the vegetables I were getting. So now it's something we look forward to every single summer. And I think that's kind of rubbed off on my siblings a little bit and definitely the rest of my family. We have a pretty high prevalence of type 2 diabetes on my dad's side. So he is 100% more aware. Every nutrition fact label, he'll send me a picture and tell me how many grams of sugar are in it or, what the ingredients are. So
that's good.
I think just the awareness has definitely gone up since I've kind of fell into this path.
That's awesome. And obviously with it too, I find personally, and with many people that I know, it's when you are presented with something you're unfamiliar with, whether it be a fruit, a vegetable, or a type of protein or something like that, and you don't know how to process it or cook it,
Yeah.
then you just shy away from it and you're missing out on all those nutritional values. So it's very inspiring to see you kind of bringing that to your family and making them more aware of it, and obviously all those around you. And that's something I try to bring forward too. And I see that you've been doing Facebook videos to try and promote things like that. You recently had the Granny Smith apple video talking about all the different vitamins and stuff in that. So you want to kind of elaborate on maybe how that goes down and how you'd like to go forward with that, with showing people how to use these products?
Yeah. So I guess I should kind of explain what my job is. But I work for Oneida, Herkimer, Madison, BOCES. They are my employer. And I work part-time with 16 local small districts, including like Sequoia, Waterville, Clinton, Mount Markham. There's a long list, all the way out to O&D Young. So we have all those small schools, and we are kind of like their contractor. So our workers go into their kitchen and kind of we make all the central menus, and they kind of follow along with that. So I working on those menus, a lot of farm to school, a lot of local, and then I work part-time with Utica City School Districts as their main dietitian. So the videos come up with Utica because they have money every year to buy fresh fruit and vegetables for an afternoon snack for their elementary schools.
Awesome.
So in past years, there's been a lot of disconnect. They just get the fruit or vegetable, and there's no education to go along with it. And I think that's lacking. They could really benefit from seeing a Granny Smith apple because we don't know what they've been exposed to at home.
Right.
A lot, they're doing figs. They have like baby bell peppers. So the videos that I'm doing are the educational piece. So because I can't be in every single classroom in every elementary school in Utica, the videos will be broadcasted to the students while they're trying the snack. They get to interact with me. I kind of become like a friend to them.
Familiar face.
Yes,
yeah.
So over time, they'll be hopefully excited that they'll be seeing another video of me explaining like what their snack is that day.
That's tremendous.
So, and they're available on the Utica website if anyone wants to check it out.
There you go. Check it out. And it's really inspiring to see you kind of working with the children because that's where it starts. You get those poor life habits just kind of put onto you as a young child. You're very absorbable. And so I think it's really important that we start targeting and doing work with school districts. And obviously we're seeing more development now as opposed to some of the more processed things that have been in years past. Like you said, getting more locally sourced, farm to table kind of meals for these kids and just showing them that those options are out there and available. And in situations where some kids might be relying on that meal, make it a good one.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
so that's really awesome to see. So kind of sticking to this idea of good foods and where we hope to see them going in years, are there any, a lot of people have this kind of preconceived notion about what's a good food, what's a bad food. Are there any foods like, obviously potatoes might be a vegetable, but it's relatively one of the lesser healthy ones for you. Are there any foods that you'd consider conceived as good but are bad? And are there any superfoods that maybe people aren't aware of right now or aren't in average diets?
Yeah, so I guess my whole philosophy is I don't like to really label things as vegetables and fruits are the only good foods that are out there. I think that there are many processed foods that still can give you a lot of nutrients from them. So I guess this is a hard question.
I like to hit a couple of them.
I guess I would say that I guess I just don't really go with a ton of labeling of good and bad. I think that people really underestimate how good anti-inflammatory foods can be. Fresh garlic is a great anti-inflammatory and antiviral. So if you're feeling sick, my microbiology teacher would eat raw garlic. You just swallow halves of garlic cloves.
Whoa.
And it's actually very antiviral.
You probably didn't want to get close and talk about your grade with him.
No, it's not fun. I wouldn't recommend it. But I think that incorporating things like fresh herbs and spices are really great. Citrus is also great to add and really helps with digestion. I love ginger. It's one of my favorite foods. I put it in basically everything.
Really?
But I wouldn't really call any food superfoods. If you eat something, your body is going to use it as energy. That's how I like to look at things. Don't feel guilty about eating an ice cream cone because your body is going to process that like it processes a glass of milk. It's dairy. You're going to get your calcium. You're going to get your protein, your vitamin D, all of that.
Right.
So I think that looking at it more of food is fuel rather than just like this is good and this is bad. Your body's
Right.
going to use it anyways.
Right.
So-
Yeah. Obviously, it comes to limiting yourself. You don't need
Yeah.
to eat the whole half gallon of
Of
ice cream
course,
in one
yes.
night, but if you want to indulge a little bit, that's good.
Yeah.
Now, for instances where people can't get those options, say, obviously in the local area, we're pretty fortunate to have things like Hannaford Brothers Markets and Tops and Price Chopper and all the things. They have pretty good locally sourced produce. For people who can't have access to that or, want to get their foot in the door, like you said, you do the CSA over on Grange Hill. Are there options like that, maybe near the city of Utica or things like that?
Yeah, so actually SNAP is like kind of like almost like food stamps, but they accept SNAP benefits at most farmers markets during the
wow.
summer. So I believe that the Oneida County Public Market accepts some type of like the EBT or whatever it is for food stamps. You
Wow,
can
that's
exchange
awesome.
some of those at the local market. But I think it's also just like looking at your lifestyle as a whole. Like if food isn't the piece that you can change right now, can you increase your water intake throughout the day? Can you replace a water or a soda that you would have had with a water? That's a small step that you can make if food really isn't the most accessible thing, because if you don't have transportation to the farmer's market, it doesn't matter if it takes
Right.
SNAP
Yeah.
benefits.
That's it.
So I guess just looking at like your lifestyle as a whole, like health and wellness is so unique that you have to look at you. If you sit at a desk all day, I don't expect you to get 10,000 steps just in your 9-to-5 job. Of
Right.
course you're not going to make it, but maybe taking the stairs up to your office or parking your car a little farther away in the parking lot to get a further walk into work. Or if you have a friend who on your lunch break can go out and go for a walk with you, just like little things that you personally can do.
That's awesome. And it's really important to kind of highlight what you're saying here. And people who are listening, I hope you're realizing it's not condemning a lifestyle here.
Yeah.
It's just small incremental changes that are bettering your life,
Yeah.
you know? And me and a few of my buddies right now are a little tied up in what we are calling a sobriety/wellness challenge. Stay away from the Uncle Charlie's, the old UCs. We have a point system. So you do 10 push-ups, you get 0.1 points.
Oh.
However, you drink a single beer, it's minus 10 points. So yeah, so you see how you're more motivated to do maybe a couple push-ups every day
Yeah.
or walk a little bit. And like you said, just those incremental changes. And before you know it, you start waking up a little bit earlier and you start feeling a little bit better. Your back's hurting a little bit less. You have a little bit more of an appetite come lunch because you've scaved off the donuts all morning and you're not just feeding on those. So it's important to say that you don't, if you're feeling out of shape or unhealthy or overweight or anything like that, you don't need to hope that in a week from now you're going to drop 40 pounds. It's a little bit at a time. Drink a little more water, do a little bit more exercise, and just better yourself. Want those things for yourself, And I think bringing the awareness to the area and just saying, I didn't have any idea about the EBT benefits being accepted at farmers markets.
Yeah.
So that's tremendous. These are different avenues that people could look into, otherwise probably not doing that.
Yeah.
I hope they get use out of, So that's awesome to see. What else did I want to ask you? There's something. Oh, so going into your career with OHM BOCES, it's been a couple months now.
Yeah, about 4.
4 months, and
Yeah.
you're enjoying doing your own circuit kind of thing. And there's a few of you obviously probably doing all this.
Yeah, so it's I have 2 bosses. The assistant director, who is Kate Dorr, she's also a registered dietitian, and then Tom Pfister is the food service director for all of OHM BOCES, so he oversees all of us. And then we also work very close-heartedly with Cornell Cooperative Extension, and we have a farm-to-school coordinator, Jake Perrin, that works a lot. He knows the conversation between the farmers and us. So it's not me going to the farmers, it's him saying, how many heads of broccoli can we get, or how many heads of cauliflower? Then he comes to me and says, we need to put cauliflower on the menu 2 or 3 times a year. And we all sit down and collaborate. It's a big project
that's awesome.
meeting. It's really fun. Those are the fun meetings.
Yeah, a lot of wheels turning in there, I
Yeah.
can imagine.
Yeah.
Are you finding it's been pretty easy to kind of go to create this connection, this bridge between the schools and the farms and the good produce and the food?
So I can't really take full credit because Kate and Jake have worked towards this for probably close to like 5 or 10 years. So this has been a long process. And
Tremendous.
luckily I kind of just came into it at like the point where they are comfortable. And it's always a growing process. We are always looking to get more local food into schools. But I feel like it was kind of already established when I got there. So it was more of like, here's the list of produce that we're getting. Spit out any recipe ideas that you have that we haven't already thought of. So it's just kind of like expanding upon what was already there beforehand. I do know that it is hard. We have been kind of trying to plan more for throughout the year. So we send out like a call for information from farmers saying we need 5,000 heads of cauliflower next year. How many can you give to us? Like, what is the sizing that you're thinking of, or how much can you give us per pound? And they kind of give us the information back saying we can only provide this many heads, or yeah, we can give you Smith Packing and everyone does our meatballs. So we've been, or Dino's, excuse me, does our meatballs. So they told us we need 15,000 meatballs this year for meatball subs.
Wow.
So kind of just saying like, okay, then we need to put it on 3 times throughout the year. So just that organization going through.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Just to see this collaboration and within the community, all for the betterment of our children and our school systems. And that's so crucial. Again, going back to the idea of some of these kids, that might be the only meal they're getting, or a big portion of their diet, and the positive values that we can give them. So it's just exciting to see that. And it sounds like you have a great group working with, and they're all supporting you, right?
Yeah, they're pretty awesome.
That's awesome. And it's good to see that you're kind of stepping into it. Now, do you guys have any goals pertaining to where you would like it to go? There's obviously got to be more hurdles coming up, right?
Yeah, definitely. Every year brings like the uncertainty of, are these farmers going to do the same thing next year? Are they going to still provide zucchini? Are we still going to get pears? So just that question. But I guess that I should explain. So New York State came out with a 30%, I guess, like reimbursement. So if you can achieve 30% of your lunch costs that were produced locally or our local products, then you get an extra amount of reimbursement per lunch. I'm not sure what the exact amount is.
So if the lunches that were already in place and you replace 30% of it with locally sourced stuff, you get reimbursed for it, kind of thing?
We get, so the school lunch program, we already get reimbursement for every like, I guess, reimbursable lunch that goes through the line. So you have to have 3 out of 5 components. One has to be a fresh fruit or vegetable. So say you get, today was French toast sticks. So today you get French toast sticks and you get a sausage patty and you get a fruit cup and you get a milk. That's a reimbursable lunch. You go right through the line and we get, I'm really not sure on what the numbers are of how much money we get back, but we get a dollar amount back per student.
Awesome.
So this would be additional reimbursement on top of that. So this year we got the 30%, which is very exciting. And so now we're trying to kind of sustain that for this year, but we would like to keep pushing forward. I mean, at first I was like, only 30%. And then you kind of look at it and you're like, wow, 30% can be a lot compared to how much stuff you're buying.
Right.
So I think it was an extra $100,000 that we spent. So, but next year with the extra reimbursement, we will make $90,000 more dollars. So, you have to spend money to make money.
Right. Obviously. So. Yeah. And that's awesome to see, again, the state kind of helping out on that aspect too. Now, do you guys is this your own territory, or do you hope to expand, get more than 16 school districts involved, or?
I'm not really sure. I think that this program has been built for like 30 years. So it's been expanding throughout. I think it's more just of like the nitty gritty of it. Like, can we physically get food from our warehouse to more schools? So it depends on like how thin that can spread. I know that right now it is like very busy, so I'm not sure. I know there are rumors of schools that also want to join, but I don't know if that will happen in the future. I'm not sure.
Right. Manpower and resources can only go so far, obviously. Well, that's awesome. And it sounds, again, going back to this great place you work, OHM Boise is giving you the tools to be able to make differences in these kids' lives. Do you anticipate kind of building yourself up in a career there? Where does an RD go from there?
So, I guess like right now, I'm very happy in my position. I have a lot of flexibility and I do my work and I get it done, and I'm not the day-to-day operations. Like, I am like creating the menu behind the scenes, but if an order doesn't show up, it's not me getting the phone call at 6 a.m., which is fine with me right now.
Yeah.
But I guess like moving forward, I know that like there is a lot of transition going on with us right now, but moving into like an assistant director or food service director position in the future. But I mean, registered dietitian of a lot of school districts is something nice to say.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I would just like to really grow in my own position right now. I really think that working with the team and especially improving Utica's status right now. I think that's my main focus, is kind of getting more local food into Utica City schools, incorporating more ethnic foods, because we have 41 different languages spoken in Utica. So
Wow.
I think incorporating some of those cultures into the school food scene, I think that's where I would like to go right now.
Tremendous. And really inspiring to see that you want to kind of solidify yourself in here and just get that appreciation for what you're doing. And I often find that a lot of people hope that they just come out of college and get themselves like a nice executive position somewhere. It's really more gratifying when you start out on the ground level. You know, just I work over at a lab, and to start in the data department, you start learning all the processes of where things go and how things operate. And so you starting on this ground level, seeing the interactions with these kids, helping make their menus, helping them have a better day. It's inspiring, you know, and I hope everybody who, you know, is possibly even contemplating this career path or wants to make a difference in the local area or in the health of their family, their community, things like that, they can take this example and kind of run with it and see that there are plenty of doors to open. And if you just stop and you appreciate what you're doing for all these kids, and I'm sure they will grow up to appreciate you, even though they might not know it now.
Yeah, they might really not like the broccoli that's on right now, but maybe someday they'll look back and say, at least I had the option of getting broccoli. Even though maybe I didn't try it in second grade, maybe in third grade I'll try the broccoli, or maybe it'll inspire them. We do a lot of in-class nutrition education, so just kind of giving them that like awareness that, you know, we did pears as like a mystery box kind of thing with some kindergartners. And there were a few hands that had never had a pear before. So even a lot of the kids came up to me and said, I'm going to go home and tell my mom I want her to buy pears to put in my lunch.
Wow.
And it's like, okay, even if one of them does it, because you know not all of them are going to,
Right.
but even if one of them does it, then okay, maybe they'll look back someday and be like, wow, I'm really glad that they won't remember us, but someone came in and showed me what a pear was.
Miss Pear Lady came in.
So
that's awesome. So how long have you been doing the in-class nutrition side of it? Has that been, again, ongoing for a while?
Yeah, that's been ongoing. I know the mystery box has been around for a while. I've kind of put my foot in the door a little bit, but I kind of leave that to Jake, our Cornell Cooperative Extension farm to school handler. He's very good with the kids, so I just let him kind of have his spotlight. I'm the photographer, but it's fun. And you can really show them some different things. We did cherry tomatoes, and a lot of the kids didn't even know like they were feeling like cucumbers in the mystery box, or they did cauliflower. We've done basil. So very different.
So you let them
things.
feel it, then taste it kind of thing?
Yeah. So it's kind of like they feel it. They use their senses. They use descriptive words to say, oh, it feels soft. It feels rough. It's bumpy. It's smooth. And then we kind of go around. Everyone gets to say a descriptive word, and then we all guess what we think it is. And then everyone gets to taste it after we reveal what it is.
Oh,
so
that's
yeah.
awesome. You make it like a fun game.
Yeah. It's
That's
a game.
cool. I don't remember having that as a kid.
I know. Me neither.
Wow, that's really cool. So is there a goal or a mission statement, whatever, for lack of a better word, going forward as to where you hope school lunches will get? Because obviously there's going to be some lacking elements, I can imagine.
Yeah. I guess I kind of just go with the mantra of like, we can never take pizza off of Fridays. That's just like a thing that every kid loves. Kids love chicken nuggets.
Right.
They love their mozzarella sticks. Those are the staple things. But if we can change the foods on the outside of the plate, so we have local milk, always having local milk, providing, we did like a cabbage apple salad. So having the smaller things around the plate be local products and vegetable, fruit based, but then still letting them have that flexibility of like, okay, you can have your chicken nuggets, but let's have it with a really fresh, local, healthy side.
Right.
So a balance. We're going for a balance, which we've achieved so far, and we want to just continue that, and hopefully every day we'll have that type of balance.
That's awesome because, you know, obviously not all school districts get that, and so to have people working toward it is great. And you don't want a kid to disdain his lunch. You know, we've all had those days where you come in and you're like, oh, God, they're making this? Come on. And they don't even want to eat it. They get the PB&J or whatever. It's really cool to see you guys kind of working toward not stifling their childhood and taking away all the fun stuff, but making it so that if they're still hungry, they have those good, healthy options available for them.
Yeah. I think a lot of schools are moving towards we do try and ask the kids, like, what do you want to see on the menu? What do you like? And they give us feedback, and then they give us feedback like they want to see lobster on the menu, which will never happen. But, a lot of schools.
What little kid is saying he
Yeah.
wants lobster on the
That
menu?
was the high schoolers.
I was
but,
going to say.
a lot of the students, I know Waterville Elementary School is starting kind of like a student food committee. So I'm going to be present, and they're going to kind of give feedback. Like, this is what we like and this is what we don't like. And, it's not going to be set in stone. Like, what they say they don't like is not going on the menu.
Right.
But definitely listening to some of the options that they would want to see and what they would be open to trying. And hopefully just putting more creative things on the menu than just what we're used to or what we had in high school.
That's
So.
awesome. Do you feel that kind of targeting the younger generation is going to help with the obesity problem going forward?
I think that it will. I think that the main thing is awareness and really talking to them and making it an open conversation, not just like, oh, you didn't take your broccoli today? Okay, move along in the line. Like, piecing that with in classroom education, explaining why fruits and vegetables are good for you and trying new things so that they do run home and say, I tried cauliflower today. Like, it was, maybe they didn't say it was good, but, maybe the pears or cherry tomatoes they would want their parents to buy at home. And maybe that persuades the rest of the family to try it, or so who knows what it could do, but I think it starts the ball rolling.
Absolutely, because again, we have such a pervasive issue in this country with obesity and just lack of health in the area, and a lot of these things are compounding factors. You eat enough of this processed stuff, you eat enough McDonald's, who knows if it's got carcinogens in it, really. I mean, they just listed pepperoni as a class 1 carcinogen. Has the same effect on you to cause cancer as like smoking. So it's important to be mindful, and it's important to stay up on the times, right?
Yeah.
Are you finding, because I wanted to ask you this too. I remember being a young kid and everybody said eggs were bad for you, high cholesterol and all that. Then eggs were great for you and you should eat 12 of them a day. You're always seeing this fluctuation in the knowledge and the perception of foods.
Mm-hmm.
Is that because we're getting more science-based? Is that because it's just what's in the spotlight at the time? What do you think?
I think it's also just like anything, like there are trends and ebbs and flows, and it's the same with school lunch. In whatever decade it was that heat and serve became a real thing, it was trendy for people to go, like McDonald's was new. So why wouldn't you have fast food at schools too, if that was what was trendy in the media?
Right.
So I think that social media and just kind of like society takes reign of things and kind of just destroys it. But I think that you really have to go back to the basics. Like, what was your mom putting on the table when you were growing up? And maybe it's not this generation, because we have moved towards like fast food, go, like convenience items.
Right.
But really taking it back to like when people were cooking at home, what were in those pots? It was meat and potatoes, and we always had a vegetable, and you always had each of the food groups.
Right.
So I think there's always going to be stigma about whatever anyone's eating, but really getting down to like the basics of like, this came from the ground. I think that we should keep eating it.
Yeah, it's been here a while.
So, yeah.
But I think it's important too, because I'm a little bit fanatical when it comes to like my eggs.
Yeah.
Just sticking on that topic, because we all know about mass-produced things and the situations and the circumstances in which chickens are kept for a conglomerate like Walmart, So I personally like to try to go to local markets, people who are selling their own eggs, because you are getting a difference in quality, and perhaps that's maybe changing or skewing the appetite and the tastes and the profiles that people are having. And so I feel like that's a big thing. If you're only giving yourself the opportunity to eat the produce at Walmart or something, just for lack of a better example, you're never going to get that truly good flavor, or that really kind of gripping essence to it. You eat a local or just a homegrown apple out of somebody's backyard, it's not going to taste like that enormous thing you're getting at the supermarket. And so people got to be mindful of where they're getting it and the quality in which they're getting it. I personally feel.
I think thinking about that, if you can walk up to the farm stand at the local farmer's market and say hi to the farmer that picked your apple, it's so many more benefits than picking it up at the grocery store. I mean, you have the social interaction with the farmer. You can ask them any questions that you want, and most of them will answer they will
outright.
answer any questions.
Yeah.
They are open books, most of them. And people don't understand that like local products also help with like boosting your immunity. It can help with allergies. Like there's other benefits than just apples have fiber.
Right.
So
Right.
I think just looking at it whole circle and wholeheartedly that it's more than just let me pick up this apple and it's an apple.
And those people put time into it. There's no
Yeah.
pesticides for the most part, or if there are things that they know about.
Yeah.
And it all goes back into helping your community. And I think that's a very significant underlying theme that we have here today. It's the kind of the circular nature of things. If we're helping the farmer and he's able to grow more and then recontribute to our school systems and help our children have a better lifestyle, it is all reciprocating to one another. And it's beautiful to see, but sometimes we lose sight of those things. And so it's great that you were able to come on and kind of explain this a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think that's important for people to remember going forward is that while we have quick options and there are alternatives, maybe slow down a little bit. Don't let life get ahead of you and just make a good meal and take pride in it. Because when you make something with good products and it tastes really good, what's a better feeling?
Yeah.
You know?
I always think like even if I'm making pizza at home, at least I am making it and I know what's going into it. Or at least
Absolutely.
if you're making mac and cheese at home. Okay, it's still macaroni and cheese, but still I know exactly what's going into the sauce. There's no preservatives in it because I'm going to keep it in my refrigerator for maybe a couple of days.
Right.
So it's already that much better for you than buying something already pre-made.
And it's like you wouldn't dump sludge into your gas tank, so why dump it into yourself kind
That's
of
true.
thing, you know? And so I don't know. I do believe there's a bit of a disconnect, but I hope that with some of these fad diets and things like that, I hope people are starting to turn the leaf and at least opening the conversation and the dialogue toward better eating. And whether, I mean, the paleo one is one that I'm kind of interested by, where people kind of believe in eating like our ancestors did, just nuts and berries and all those things that you're really an advocate for as well. But again, it gets the ball rolling into the right direction and saying, all right, if you're looking at these diet options, look at what else. Look at what these other foods can do for you. And now let's get them from a good spot.
Yeah.
And let's have different preparations for them. So do you have any suggestions or recommendations for somebody who maybe wants to try some rutabaga or some collard greens, but they don't know how to prepare them? Is there a place that you use for recipes, or do you just kind of wing it?
Yeah, I kind of wing it. But again, like the internet can be your best friend if you really know how to use it. Like Food Network, Food 52, Bon Appetit Magazine, all those. YouTube, if you don't know how to cut a butternut squash, just Google how to cut a butternut squash.
That's simple.
And so you can find a ton of videos on YouTube that really help you. Or the power of Google. Just how do I cook a rutabaga, or how do I peel it?
I don't know where I got rutabaga from.
I mean, it's a pretty cool vegetable. I mean, most people, we just did a little education session with kohlrabi, and a lot of people don't know what kohlrabi is or how to cook it, but it does grow locally and it's at your farmer's market. But people won't pick it up because they don't know how to cook it. But
Right.
just Google recipes with kohlrabi, and I bet you a million things will pop up.
Yeah.
So
And that's one thing, going back to the local markets that I enjoy. I was at Hannaford's the other day, and they give out free cookbook recommendations. It's called So Fresh, I believe.
cool.
And it's all different recipes using good ingredients that you're going to find there. And so it at least opens your door to different ideas. And so that's really interesting to me. And I think that's what people lack, a little bit of tenacity in them to say, yeah, I'll try something different. And everybody wants what they know is tasty, but how desensitized do your taste buds get to all that stuff? And eventually you're just like, all right, I want a chicken tonight, but I guess I'll just settle for a chicken sandwich from McDonald's. And one leads to another. So again, in the spirit of bettering yourself, taking those small incremental steps, maybe grab up one of those So Freshes from Hannaford, or go to a local farmer's market. Ask the farmer. I'm sure he knows how to cook it.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Try new things, and a lot of people taste it once and it's cooked a certain way. Like I always hated steamed green beans when I was little, but now I love green beans because I will saute them or cook them a different way.
Yeah.
So try it. Try different cooking methods or different spices or seasonings or methods of prep. I think that any way you want to cook something, you'll like it some way, but just find that way.
Absolutely.
And just kind of get your senses used to it. I mean, science has said like it takes 8 or 10 times of trying something for you to, if you don't like it the first time, to really enjoy it. And I think it's true. I mean, so many things that I didn't love when I was little, I've just tried in small increments over the past couple of years, and now become some of my favorite foods.
Yeah,
So.
I absolutely agree. I used to disdain all seafood. Now I can't get enough shrimp if I
Yeah.
wanted to, you know? So just things like that. Or my friend Nick, episode 20, season 1, he was here one day and I was making pork chops and he's like, "Oh, I hate pork chops." I go, "Why?" He goes, "They're always so dry." I'm like, let me show you a not dry pork chop, my friend. And he fell in love with it, you know? It's just, again, your preparation and things like that. So all good points that people should be taking away from this. So Hayley, you got a good head on your shoulders. You're a delightful person and you have a really good message and we're hitting it home today. I've known you years, probably my whole life, and I've seen where you've come and I see kind of where you're going. Where do you see yourself going maybe 5-10 years from now? Where do you hope that you're standing?
Well, I hope that I will keep my credential as a registered dietitian, so I'll still be a dietitian. But I just hope that I'm still continuing on the same path of bringing kids local food and getting people excited about food. That's like my main thing. I could talk about it for hours, which probably no. But just continuing to keep up with this passion of getting people more home-cooked foods, even teaching people how to cook more. I would love to get more people in the kitchen. So just continuing to be involved. I don't really have a certain, like, set thing in mind, but I know that I want to continue doing this, like
That's
what I am
awesome.
doing.
And that's what this show is all about, following your passions, using the things that you love to guide you through whatever it may be. And you can always turn to a good warm meal, obviously.
Of course.
Is there any particular food that you're really stuck on right now, just can't get enough of it?
Can't get enough of it. What can I not? Well, I always love peanut butter. That is like my
You did highlight the peanut butter.
and through. If you look in my cupboard right now, I have almond butter, cashew butter, 2 types of peanut butter. Like
What?
I am a nut butter fanatic, but that is like my main thing that I think if people are allergic, I completely understand, but people who don't incorporate nuts and seeds into their diet, like you are missing out. It's like the perfect snack. You can throw it on toast. I put it on fruit all the time.
It is
so
delicious. Do you use like the
versatile.
Teddies, like the all natural?
Yeah, I love all natural peanut butter. I'm
Yeah.
like a peanuts and salt. That's all I need in my peanut butter. I try to make it at home sometimes, but it's so much easier to just buy it. But
You
that's
made
like-
your own peanut butter.
Yeah, it's so easy. You just throw them in the blender with some salt. That's all you need.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm going to try that.
Yeah. Google it. How do I make peanut butter?
Google it, folks. Come on. What are you missing out on? That's awesome. So, I mean, I can't thank you enough. We're wrapping up our time here, but it's tremendous to see just this message that you're bringing home and the kind of the reciprocation, again, talking about it in our community and what you're bringing to the table, what people are helping bring to the table, literally, and just kind of this avenue that we're taking. And so I think more than ever, people need to focus on what they're eating, how often they're eating, what they're giving to their kids, and what their students or what our children's lunches are like, obviously. For somebody getting into the field of dietetics. That's the word I was looking for. It's like dietitian. For somebody getting into dietetics, is there any suggestions, recommendations, or tips you might want to give them if somebody's out there just really wants to plunge right into it?
Like to be a dietitian? you
Yes.
think? Oh, I guess just research any nutrition programs around. I think that if you're a really science-based person, there are a lot of science-based nutrition programs. And then if you're more culinary-based, I mean, go JWU, but also they have a great culinary nutrition program. So I think finding what side of dietetics you really want to go into and doing internships. That was like my main thing. I interned at Citron a couple of summers ago and I loved it, learned so much from them, but I learned that I didn't want to work in long-term care, and that's okay. I learned what I didn't want to do. Just asking people questions, reaching out to dietitians in the area. They more than welcome. People can reach out to me and ask me any questions, but just asking to shadow. Most dietitians are very, very friendly, so they'll always take you under their wing. We love dietitians.
As you can see, Hayley's not gonna bite or anything. Did you say you have to renew your credentials?
Yeah, so every 5 years I have to do 75 continuing education credits. So 75 or 1 credit equals like 1 hour technically of education. So I've been doing some, like, you can listen to podcasts and different webinars. I'm going to a conference this weekend that will definitely get me some continuing ed. It's not hard. 75 sounds like a lot, but
Over 5 years.
yeah,
I mean,
you get a lot, especially being a school dietitian where things are just thrown at you all the time to learn more. Going to conferences, anything like that. But
That's
It shouldn't be
tremendous.
hard.
And it's an ever-changing world. We're constantly creating new means of cooking, different styles, like sous vide,
Yeah.
right? In water. It's so weird. I see people cooking steaks in hot water now. I'm like, okay, I guess it's the future.
It's been around for a while, but it is really cool. We did it a lot in school, but
That's
it's fun.
awesome. But again, just highlighting kind of the idea that we're talking about here. It's taking these incremental steps toward a better lifestyle. And I hope if anybody wants to reach out to Hayley, go ahead and plug some of your stuff. Obviously, we have the Health by
Yeah.
Hayley.
My website is healthbyhale.com, Hayl, Hale.
At
And
the bottom of your screen right there.
yeah, I have my Facebook page. On my website, there's my email address. So you can just reach out to me, email me, Facebook message me. I'm Hayley at Hayley Mielnicki on Instagram and post a lot of recipes and fun stuff on there. So yeah, just feel free to reach out. I love when people reach out and ask questions.
That's awesome. As you can see, she loves food, folks, and don't we all? So thank you for coming on. I appreciate you taking time and just talking with us about it. I think it's a really important topic, and I was delighted to just be able to just brush the surface of it. And so I'm sure we'll be having Hayley back on. Again, reach out to her. She's clearly knowledgeable in the field. And folks, it's never too late to just start making a difference in your own life. Take those incremental changes. Have that family meal together. Send your kids off with a nice lunch, or make sure that you know what they're eating and that they're taking those right options. Stay tuned. Obviously, more Lost Guidance is going to be coming at you. More great guests lined up. Season 2 is going to be keep going on. And other than that, I hope you guys don't get too lost out there. And if you do, make sure you get lost in a farmer's market or something like that. All right. Hayley, thank you again.
Thank you.
And we will see you guys. Have a good one.
Bye.